Today we're going back, not just before Darth Vader, not just before Palpatine, but thousands of years earlier to the very beginning of Star Wars history. This is the age of gods, galaxy-wide empires, and the very first rulers of the dark side. We're talking about the Force itself, ancient aliens that enslaved the galaxy, and the first Sith kings. And trust me, it gets way crazier than the movies ever showed. The Force, the beginning of everything. Before there were lightsabers, before there were Jedi or Sith, there was the Force. The Force is basically the heartbeat of the entire galaxy. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. That's not just Obi-Wan being poetic. It's the literal foundation of Star Wars. But here's the thing. Ancient records talk about the Force like it wasn't just an energy field. Entire civilizations believed the Force had gods. And on a strange world called Mortis, 3 beings existed who proved that idea wasn't just mythology. The Mortis Gods, the first clash of light and dark. On Mortis lived 3 entities known as the Ones. The father, who represented balance, the daughter, who embodied the light side, and the son, who was the dark side given flesh. They weren't normal beings. They could control time, alter reality, and bend even the Chosen One himself, Anakin Skywalker. These 3 figures show that the conflict between light and dark wasn't created by Jedi or Sith. It's eternal. It's cosmic. From the very beginning, the dark side was already here, waiting for someone to grab it and run with it. And eventually, someone did. The Rakatan Infinite Empire. 30,000 years before the movies, the first great galactic empire rose. And no, it wasn't the Republic. It was the Rakata, a species of carnivorous aliens who were both Force-sensitive and absolutely ruthless. The Rakata created something insane: the Infinite Empire. They enslaved entire species, spread across the galaxy, and used the dark side to fuel their technology. That's right. Their blasters, their ships, even their hyperdrives were powered by the Force itself. Imagine your iPhone only works if you're angry enough. That's Rakatan tech. And the jewel of their empire was the Star Forge, a massive space station that could literally print endless fleets of ships and armies. The Star Forge was alive, feeding off the Force and growing stronger the more hatred and war it absorbed. The Rakatan collapse. But like every empire that relies on cruelty, the Rakata eventually fell. Why? Because the Force turned on them. After centuries of using the dark side as a battery, the Rakata lost their connection to the Force completely. Imagine an army of billions with lightsabers and superweapons. And overnight, they can't touch the Force anymore. Their empire crumbled, their slaves revolted, and the once unstoppable Rakata were reduced to scavengers hiding on their homeworld. Their fall created a power vacuum. For the first time, the galaxy was free of a universal conqueror. And in that space, something new rose. Something that would define Star Wars forever. The rise of the Jedi. With the Rakata gone, Force-sensitive philosophers gathered on the planet Tython. This was ground zero for the Jedi. Back then, they weren't even called Jedi. They were the Jedi. Their philosophy was balance. They believed you needed both the light side and the dark side, like yin and yang. Too much of one, you'd lose balance. They even lived by this on Tython, which had 2 moons, one representing light, one representing darkness. When the Jedi got out of balance, they were literally forced into exile until they restored harmony within themselves. It was strict, but it worked for a while. But over time, the Jedi leaned further and further toward the light side. They declared the dark side unnatural, corrupt, dangerous, and by cutting it off, they planted the seeds of their greatest enemy, the Sith, the first darkness among the Sith species. Here's the part most fans don't know. The Sith weren't originally a religion or a title. They were a red-skinned warrior species who lived on a desert planet called Korriban. They were fierce, tribal, and naturally strong in the dark side. While the Jedi were learning balance on Tython, the Sith were already living it raw and unrefined. And among them rose the first great dark monarch, King Adus. This guy was a giant, literally, black-armored warlord king, feared even by his own people. Adus united the Sith species for the first time and ruled for nearly 3 centuries. He was so powerful in the dark side that his people called him the immortal God King. His reign basically set the tone. The Sith weren't just Force users, they were conquerors. Adus eventually fell fighting off invaders from outside the Sith world, but his legend lived on. He left behind the Sith holocrons, teaching tools of dark side power. Every Sith Lord who came after would be influenced by Adus's shadow, Dathka Graush, the Butcher King. After Adus, the Sith species saw rulers who made his reign look merciful. One of the most infamous was Dathka Graush. Where Adus had unified his people, Graush ruled through fear and slaughter. He sacrificed thousands of his own subjects to fuel his dark rituals. He literally had a throne made out of corpses. Yeah, this guy makes even Palpatine look tame. Graush embodied the idea that Sith power wasn't just about ruling others. It was about dominating them completely. Under him, the Sith species became more and more obsessed with blood sacrifice, sorcery, and bending the Force through suffering. The stage is set. So let's connect the dots. We start with the Force itself, an eternal energy that has both light and dark. Then we see the Mortis Gods prove that light and dark are always going to clash. The Rakata come along, abuse the dark side to build the first Galactic Empire, and then lose everything when the Force cuts them off. In their wake, the Jedi rise on Tython, choosing the light side over balance. And at the same time, on Korriban, the Sith species grow under warlords like King Adus and Dathka Graush. All the ingredients are in place. You've got the light side choosing purity. You've got an entire species steeped in darkness. And pretty soon, you're going to have the first full-scale war between Jedi and Sith. But before we get there, the galaxy's about to be torn apart by something called the 100-Year Darkness. So the question is, what happens when a group of Jedi decide that the dark side isn't evil at all, but the ultimate path to power? That's coming up. The 100-Year Darkness and the Exiles. And trust me, this is where the Sith, as we know them, are born.